I was genuinely excited when I heard Game Freak was making a brand new RPG called Town back in 2018. This is the first non-Pokemon RPG that Game Freak has developed in the past 20 years. Would you expect any less from the developer that created the best-selling RPG franchise of all time? Naturally, there's a lot riding on this new adventure. Does Little Town Hero live up to the standard Game Freak is known for, or pale in comparison to Pokemon? Let's find out. You take control of a boy named Axe, who dreams of leaving his town to go on adventures. Everyone who lives in this town is not allowed to leave for some undisclosed reason. So Axe and his friends scheme to figure out a way to get into the castle, which is where the exit to the town is. They run into a soldier that agrees to train them to join the soldier army so they can enter the castle. They're soon interrupted by a new invasion of monsters in town and begin to investigate what's causing the monsters' appearance. Little Town Hero is very aesthetically pleasing to look at. The cel-shaded art style is beautiful and adds to the cartoony fairy tale atmosphere. The monster designs are pretty detailed and take inspiration from many fairy tale monsters. I will say the world isn't too huge. The entire game takes place in this singular town, and I find that odd because the premise of the game is about exploring the outside world. Character models are often reused in multiple places. There were a few frame hiccups, particularly when the game loads a cutscene. The game will just freeze for a few seconds, which was worrying at first, but I realized, oh, that's how the game loads cutscenes. There was one occurrence where the game completely froze in the middle of a boss battle and I had to reset. So it seems with a little more TLC, this game could have fixed these issues. One of the game's greatest strengths is the soundtrack. Undertale director and composer Toby Fox has created epic boss fight music as well as charming tunes that will tug at the heartstrings. There's no Megalovania-like track, but the orchestra kept me jamming during every boss fight. After experiencing the 15 to 20 hour campaign, the soundtrack is definitely one of my favorite video game OSTs. The writing is downright hilarious at times, and I felt a few tears forming when I got near the end game. The pacing does get bogged down sometimes when battles get repetitive. I believe I had to fight my rival 7 or 8 times just because he wanted to fight or waste time. I audibly groaned again by the 4th or 5th fight, but he wasn't much of a challenge at that point. Little Town Hero uses a turn-based combat system which was a little difficult to get a hold of at first. You are equipped with Izzets, which are attacks you need to use energy on to make them into actual attacks, or what the game calls Dazzets. Each Dazzet has an attack and a defense stat. You collide your attacks with your enemy's attacks with the intent to break theirs. Once all of the enemy's Dazzets are broken at the end of a turn, you get a chance to hit them for actual damage on their hearts. My problem with this combat system is, most of the time at the end of a turn, you won't have any attacks or energy left to get the actual damage hit in, and this drags out battles unnecessarily. There's also a Mario Party-like progression on the map between turns, which adds some extra strategy. Some spaces will have NPCs with extra abilities or attacks waiting for you, but since you're rolling a die to get there, most fights will feel RNG based. There are a few abilities that let you move freely around the board, but those aren't always accessible. Attacks are also randomly doled out to you. Most of the fights, I was just praying that I would get the specific attack I needed when I landed on a specific spot on the map, so I can execute that attack. Whether you lose or defeat an enemy, you will be rewarded with Eureka points, which can be spent on upgrading your attacks or receiving more hit points. Since every fight works like a boss battle, there's no ability to grind except trying the next boss and losing to gain points. This would be okay if enemy fights didn't drag on for an hour at times. Certain bosses have abilities that are straight up mean, like auto-break all Dazzets when used, or destroy energy at the beginning of a turn. This shifted my focus to removing the new threat while I still had a gigantic boss to take down. I would constantly see myself in hindsight seconds after making a move that ended my attempt. It's very easy to get yourself into a corner where you're out of battle points and attacks will not regenerate anymore. I will say once I reached mid-game, attacks became more powerful and I was able to complete fights faster. Once I got a handle on the battle system, each fight was more rewarding when I chased down and defeated a formidable boss. It felt like I achieved a big brain status once I became good at the game.
The prophecy is true.
I also enjoyed certain fights that had certain win conditions, like make sure you lose or make sure you chance turn with a specific attack. These switched up the pace and made for some interesting fights. Little Town Hero is a game that seems like it needed a little more time in the development oven. Frame drops, world size, and a complicated combat system make the barrier to entry a little difficult, but if you're willing to put up with those things, or love challenging games, you'll be rewarded with a charming story with epic music. We here at the Game Pack give Little Town Hero a 7 out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the Game Pack for more news, reviews, and other gaming content. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.